Now, let's discuss this further. We're joined by the CEO at Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, Neville Matjie. Neville, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, not too long ago, we saw how the unrest destroyed businesses in this country, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, and obviously impacting heavily on the country's economy. Explain how exactly this upcoming Indaba is planning to help turn things around, particularly in the province.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Thanks for hosting us. We had dark days during that short period, and unfortunately, because of that little hiccup, we've had to have concerted efforts to rebuild the confidence of KwaZulu-Natal. Under the leadership of our Premier Zigalala, as well as my MEC Ravi Pillay, we've had to work very closely with the private sector to really give them a guarantee in terms of safety and security, in terms of security of the investments, as well as our continued partnership between ourselves and them. And that has yielded very positive results. To that point, we are now hosting the KwaZulu-Natal Investment Indaba, which is our annual event. And this year, we are under the theme of World Halal Day in partnership with United World Halal Development Agency.
And what is that significant and that partnership in as far as World Halal Day is concerned?
It's quite significant. You know, the halal sector, and as well as products that are coming out of the halal sector, are generated out of in an ethical way, without preservatives, without chemicals. And it's a segment that we have not really capitalized on as a region. Africa alone has got 500 million Muslims and consumers of halal products. And halal products is not just food, it's clothing, it's makeup, it's pharmaceuticals, etc. Last year, under, again, our leadership of our Premier, we developed the KwaZulu-Natal export strategy in line with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So we identified the top products that can be exported into the African continent. And within that segment, we then honed in and also elevated products that can be exported into the halal segment, not only into the continent, but also the ASEAN region, which is really the largest consumer of halal products. One thing that has come out quite prominently is that you don't have to be Muslim to produce halal products, but you have to be accredited by the accreditation agencies to ensure that they assess the value chain of the production of your halal product before you get accredited and certified to actually supply halal products. So through that relationship with Sanha, as well as the NHI within KwaZulu-Natal, we've really established a very good collaboration to identify companies that are able to produce these products and export the products, and also seeking investors that can come into the region to invest into the manufacturing of halal products.
Now, we know that the tourism sector was one of those industries that were badly affected due to COVID-19 mainly. Now, in your statement, you say that this event seeks to create investment opportunities for entrepreneurs and investors alike. Which sectors are you particularly targeting, in terms of seeking investment?
Yeah, in this instance, we are looking at the manufacturing sector as a priority, because one thing that we are capitalizing on is linking our localization strategy with the development of these products to actually penetrate the African market and globally, and also supplying the domestic market. You're touching on tourism, which is an important sector. Tourism is not forgotten. A huge component of halal includes halal tourism. And through our engagement with our sister agency, Tourism KwaZulu-Natal, we are going to be entering into a closer working relationship with our hotel industry to ensure that they become halal friendly. So they are able to then receive tourists that come from either the Middle East or from the ASEAN region that actually, you find that most of those tourists come with large families. And it's not just one person traveling, it's a whole family traveling. So the facilities of our different hotels must be ready to accommodate a family-style travel. So that's the next phase of our engagement. And through our relationship with United World Halal Development, we've worked very closely. By the way, United World Halal is actually located in Singapore, and they actually have done capacity building for ourselves and some of our officials. And we're going to be continuing that engagement to ensure that our hotel facilities are also capacitated. They get to understand how to cater for that segment so that we are able to then start attracting tourists within that sector.
Now, you say that the Indaba itself will contribute to the province's GDP. How so? What are the immediate benefits to local businesses, as an example?
COVID has hit us really hard, not only as a region, but also as a country. And last year, you would have witnessed the Intra-Africa Trade Fair that came to KwaZulu-Natal. Of course, Intra-Africa Trade Fair organized by the African Bank. And through that partnership, we realized a great need to have and to continue generating economic activity and also showcasing our investment opportunities. For us to be able to increase our GDP contribution, we've got to ensure that we bring in more investors to invest in our opportunities within KZN. So we have a number of investment opportunities that have been packaged that will be showcased during the conference. Just this last week, African Bank actually visited KwaZulu-Natal. They met with a number of our catalytic project promoters with the intention of funding projects within KwaZulu-Natal, some of which will be showcased during the Indaba. But our Indaba is a precursor to the presidential conference, which is taking place on Thursday. So we are showcasing our opportunities, packaging them, and thereafter we then proceed to the presidential conference to support the presidential initiative to attract $100 billion of investment. So this is part of the same family to ensure that by the time we get to the presidential conference, all our activities related to the investment promotion and supporting our investors have already been done. And when we get to the investment conference, we are having side sessions where we are engaging our investors with funders and other potential partners that have already been pre-identified. So it's really from that perspective that we are driving the Indaba as a precursor to the presidential investment conference.
Now, Neville, just on this theme that you guys have of rebuilding, the province's economy as well as curbing unemployment, I'm sure you've heard in our top story, South Africans being warned that they can expect to fork out more amid rising food and fuel prices and a possible interest rate hike. What kind of interventions outside of investment indabas like the one that you are having would you say are critical right now and are needed to help our ailing economy?
For us, thank you for the question. For us to be able to lower prices within our region, we've got to produce our own products and capitalize on that. The more we rely on imports, the more we get affected by price increases that go beyond our control. So you start purely with the agricultural sector, for example, and ensure that we are able to produce our own food. And I also heard Minister Thoko Didiza speaking about this sector to say there's no need for panic buying, because that's a sector that we've got to continue to enhance. So not only within the agriculture sector, but within the entire value chain of manufacturing. Hence the need to attract more investors so that we are able to control the prices of our products and our goods and services within the province and within South Africa for that matter. So it's quite critical and really buying into the agenda of localization and value addition rather than being reliant on the importation of finished products.
Now, this Indaba is expected to attract 200 delegates. What are some of your concerns in terms of, just how challenging will it be to convince those investors to invest in some of, manufacturing, as you've mentioned, in KZN, particularly if you have to look at just some of the recent concerns that have been, ongoing, particularly the unrest in South Africa?
Yeah, there's been a very close dialogue between the private sector and our provincial government. And 2 weeks ago, there was a workshop hosted by our Premier as well as the private sector through the Growth Coalition, which is a partnership between government as well as the private sector. And in those 2 days, it focused on 3 critical priority areas. One was on safety and security and our readiness to respond to any incident that may destabilize business. And out of that discussion, a robust plan has been put in place together with our police services as well as our security cluster to ensure that we deal with any eventuality, which then gives additional confidence to investors that KwaZulu-Natal is a safe place to do business and to invest in our region. The second component dealt with infrastructure development as well as our catalytic projects. In particular, of course, government-led infrastructure. And in this instance, the ports are quite critical in that value chain. And we have the CEO of Transnet, the group CEO of Transnet here also participating in this session, where we looked at a number of areas which the port is improving its efficiencies to ensure that it, again, gives confidence that through those efficiencies, the business can continue effectively within our region. And then the last area really is in terms of the social compact. That social compact between the private sector, labor, government, as well as our communities. That social compact needs to be enhanced. And out of that, you'll be able to generate a much clearer path in which the 3 areas, so the government as well as private sector and labor, are able to have a meeting of the minds in terms of the rebuilding of our economy and the sustenance of our economy.
Are you confident that those 3 areas that you've just mentioned will be somehow covered, you know, when you are hosting these 200 delegates who will be there in attendance physically and some on the hybrid event virtually, that you will be able to address just some of these important critical priorities that you've just mentioned, one of them being safety, you know, as you go out and approach them from an investment opportunity?
100%. KwaZulu-Natal is the only province that has got, for lack of a better word, a mini NADLAC. And that is led through our economic development department led by our MEC Ravi Pillay, wherein there is a consistent and persistent engagement between the 3 spheres. And because of that social compact, we've seen a huge turnaround in terms of how industry has developed within our region and how labor has been able to flourish within our area as well. And most times you find the challenges that erupt between those 2 segments and government being in between. And through the social compact and through this continued engagement through the Economic Council, which is led by MEC Ravi Pillay, you've seen continued engagement and better relationship between the private sector as well as our labor. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely. This platform creates a great opportunity for us to showcase the social compact and to showcase how KwaZulu-Natal has taken huge strides to build the relationship between itself as well as the private sector and the labor.
Well, Neville, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for availing yourself. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And our conference will be also online. And we are expecting actually more than 200 delegates. And we are looking forward to seeing a lot of South Africans participating and a lot of KZN manufacturers there. Thank you.
CEO at Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, Neville Matjie.